Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Transformation Talks. I am Yasmin Taj, editor and head of branded content for ETHR International, and it is my pleasure to be amongst all of you today. Once again, I'm here to host an HR tech influencer as part of the Transformation Talks LinkedIn Live series. To those who are new to Transformation Talks, as part of this LinkedIn Live series, every week I host different talent leaders and HR tech influencers to share their experiences and transformation stories of talent, technology, and organizations. And with great pleasure, I introduce to you Shashwat Kumar, Senior VP of Global Customer Success and Delivery, Darwin Box, a leader with over 2 decades of multi geographical, multicultural experience in aiding organizations achieve their HR digital transformation successfully. Shashwat has been at the forefront of several trend shifts in HR. At Darwinbox, he'll be leveraging his experience to drive and demonstrate value realization to large enterprise customers, building the leading HCM provider's reputation as a trusted advisor for its 600 plus customers and accelerate the company's global expansion. In his rich career, Shashwat has worked with erstwhile Hewitt, Aon, and Allied Solutions, where he was instrumental in driving HR transformations anchored on outcomes across Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. For the last 4 years, he has led multi-million dollar HR technology transformations for leading software companies in the talent management space. Shashwat is an engineering graduate for the Delhi College of Engineering and holds an MBA degree in international business from Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. He's passionate about education, children, economic empowerment, and science and technology related issues. Welcome, Shashwat. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Ashwin. Thanks for having me for this wonderful conversation, and good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon. And Shashwat, tell us about your new stint at Darwin Works. How is it feeling? How are you feeling now?
So it's an interesting one. I was, you can imagine, I was apprehensive, having not changed job for 21 years. To me, one of the biggest pieces was obviously the Darwin Box story is unique. It's wonderful. It's only accelerating. So all those were great aspects. But I was excited about the fact that here this firm looked like a firm which is exceptionally focused on customer, and customer centricity is a value. And as I've joined and spent around 2.5 months there now, that whole value has come alive across the firm. So I feel already at home in many ways, and that was one of the core things at Hewitt. We always used to say that there will be never a conflict in Hewitt if you always think of first client, then firm, then team, and then me. And many ways Darwin Box embodies that. So I can say I am still at home, so it's okay.
Great to know that you feel you're at home, and it's. I'm sure there's a lot of value. There's so much that you're going to add to the success story of Darwin Box. So thank you for sharing that. And before I start a discussion with Shashwat, I'd request our viewers today to keep sharing your thoughts and questions in the comment section. I'll keep taking them up all through our conversation. And without further ado, let me start with my first question for you, Shashwat. So, organization dependency on technology has plummeted twofolds and turned into the biggest factor impacting business transformation today. As the advent of big data and analytics continues to shift paradigms in the world of business, how are leadership and visionary objectives changing with respect to further business transformation?
In fact, Yasmin, it's a great question. We'll have to step back and think of it in phases. So if you really go back and look at last couple of decades, transformations were accelerating in many ways. So, and that's reflected in, if you pick up any list of top companies, there is a fair bit of churn happening. So that was happening. Then over last decade or so, digital transformations accelerated. A lot of companies failed, but many who succeeded realized disproportionate benefits from there. So think of longer term, there were transformations and churn happening last decade or so. A lot of digital transformation work happened, and COVID actually taught everyone something totally different. Obviously, there was piece around resilience connected to the environment change, responding at speed. But from a transformation and business lens perspective, all the holy cows went off the table. So what you thought of as sacrosanct, never questioned in past, suddenly it looked like that it's worth questioning, and it's some of those is leading to permanent benefits. So with all these contexts now, as if you are looking at business leaders driving transformations, you see there is lot more hunger around outcomes. So that's one. all of them realize that technology will be a big catalyst. So I think increasingly people are saying technology is not the transformation. It will enable transformation, accelerate transformation. But the big change which is happening is everyone is looking at genuine transformation and also trying to parallelly change the operating model. So that's it's the whole transformation story coming together nicely. So we are entering that phase. And if you think of this and couple it with the fact that fundamentally corporations, as we know, no one has stepped back and questioned it. Today is a time where we can question the work, put a lens on the worker, try to change workplace. So try to make changes on all three together, and that will be creating the future of how we know work, how we know organization, and so on. And all those are real opportunities, and companies are taking a step. It will not happen one go. You will see incremental changes, and before we know, in 5-10 years, landscape will look fairly different.
That was a very interesting perspective, Shashwat. I think, yes, transformation, as you said, they were ongoing for many decades now. Then it turned to digital transformation. And now we are in a stage, I think, where it's pivoted to another level altogether. It's not just the technology and transformation, it's leadership, it's business, it's operating models, everything coming together to, put forward a success story when it comes to business transformation. So great thoughts there. Thanks for sharing that. So, Shashwat, business solutions are now strongly related to technological developments, and we just spoke about that also. So, as the need for future proofing arises in organizations across different sectors, a lot of it will depend on the emergence of newer technology and tools. Which HR and business analytics tools and technologies, according to you, are going to help secure futures of business transformation?
In fact, I will go back to the comment you just made that now leadership and everything is coming together. So it's not only about leadership. Overall capability change is becoming a central theme in transformation. So if you think of where transformations are getting challenged, is it's getting challenged on organizational, people, and behavioral issues, because rest you can buy, you can actually take off the shelf. So if these three aspects are the aspects on which you are getting challenged, HR has a central role, HR technology has a central role. So from an HR's perspective, what are the tech and the tools which one they will allow them to free up their own time so they can devote more time to this capability and larger change in the organization around behavior, and directly think of tools which accelerate the capability change, and think of tools which actually accelerate the ways of working change. So if you think of the whole capability change, as we look forward, I think there will be more and more demand around science of skills, because if we go back to the previous comment, if we have to reimagine the org structure or the way organizations are structured, we'll have to deconstruct jobs, skills will become central, and then you will need the science of skills to come through. And to be able to do it at scale, you will need platforms to support it. It cannot be done by humans. So that's a huge area of work. Even if you look at Darwin Box or across all platforms, that's where people are actually putting effort in, and it's still the beginning of that journey, because doing it fast and doing it wrong is not an option. So it will evolve, and it needs to be right. So that's one. And then that's where, as it matures, we'll see less of talent marketplace, because today, while we are using the word talent marketplace, it's not a true marketplace. There are too many rules and restrictions. You will actually see emergence of true exchanges of opportunity and skills within company, between companies. At some stage we could have standards where people can experiment even across organizations and so on. So that's one. The second piece is when we talk of ways of working and change around that, one, you can change things from by influence, and when you actually look at influence, you get into the politics of things. And politics, while is great, it's also has a negative meaning. It will have challenge, it becomes individual anchored. The other silver bullet is to anchor change around data. So you will see people analytics and larger analytics becoming even more pivotal. And I will say not only analytics today, even today analytics is generally possible and available if you have the will to do that. If you know what are the questions around which you need data and answers, it will be available. I am saying you will see the large scale adoption of analytics. So people will adopt analytics, will use that as a GPS to drive actions. As those actions kind of bear results, you will accelerate. If there is a negative result, you will pull back and do something else. So that whole cycle, which where you are trying to react to data insights and make changes in real time, that whole pace of working which is faster, and you are collaborating, HR will need to first do within HR and then make the same story happen across the organization. So that's both a technology and the big change for HR, because HR works in functional silos to saying that we'll need to collaborate way more better and drive these outcomes for HR, and then in turn drive outcomes for business. So these are the two broad areas. You will see a lot of activities come through in these two areas.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think, as you said, science of skills. I think in the entire, this entire past 1 year, especially, we've been discussing the Great Resignation, the Great Attraction, the war for talent. I think in this all kind of, it hovers around the whole skill sets and the science of skills, as you rightly said. And companies, if they can, a very great thought that I picked up was on how, if companies can look at exchanging skills, exchanging, allow employees to work across organizations, maybe in the future deconstruct jobs. That will be very interesting. And secondly, the analytics part, I think most organizations have woken up to it. They have understood the importance of people analytics too, especially in the hybrid and remote working environment. You need analytics to understand, to listen, and to act accordingly for your people. So some great thoughts there, Shashwat. So thanks for sharing that. So, Shashwat, the continual digital transformation on businesses also raises expectations from leaders to have optimal technological expertise. So, how do you think can digital learning and technological skills be best imparted to organizations, employees, and leaders specifically? And we are talking about learning and skills already here.
Yeah, so 100%. It's maybe great question, and it's maybe the most important question, because if you think of it, the only way to evolve and survive, and now I'm going back to the Darwin story of evolution. This is the Darwinian theory, and then I will come to Darwin box. Organizations or organisms which survive are not the strongest, are the ones which evolve faster. Now, if you think of that, that's where evolve or evolution is a core theme at Darwin Box. But beyond that, in context of learning, you are looking for learning agility within the organization. So how do you build learning agility is a combination of tooling at scale, and getting that adoption happen with your workforce across demographics. And in fact, if you look at, there is very nice work called Phoenix and the Unicorn by a thought leader called Peter Hinson. And he talks of the concepts that for all of us, phoenixes are more important than the unicorns. Not to say that unicorns are not great, but most of us work for old world organizations whom you will potentially, as they thrive in the digital age, they will be true phoenix. They will go out and dominate large actually chunks of industry and sectors, and there are already those success emerging. So what is the hallmark of a phoenix is essentially saying you bring your core strength, translate that into a new way of working, and support it with learning at speed. So learning at speed will mean a whole new way of tooling. So that's one. Second is, how do you drive adoption? That's the number two. Third is, how do you support workers to change their paradigm of thinking from a mostly from an operating model and way of working perspective, because most of these organizations have been super successful in past. So if they have to think of a future, they need to kind of give up all that baggage. That's a bigger challenge, because the best time to transform is when you are not going through a pain, and you are still really strong. So that's the time where it's most difficult to convince someone about the need for change and do it into the core business itself. So those are broad hallmarks. But to your question, one point is very important, is if you look at the learning marketplace today, Yasmin, and you will know that as well as I know, most of the focus is on external third party content, which is great. I'm not running down that content. That content is needed. But as you think of content which is most strategic to your change, that content resides internally within the organization, and most trusted proponent of that content is also inside your organization. So when large organizations think of transformation, they need to think of most credible trainers within the organization. And they will not be designated trainers currently. They will be people having the most credibility in a specific subject or domain area. Think of internal content and knowledge which can be repurposed and then consumed at scale. When people will get that whole model right, we will have unique knowledge assets which will transform these leading organizations, because they, if you come to think of it, they are the ones who have this knowledge in the marketplace. No one else has that knowledge, so they need
Yeah.
to use it to accelerate their own change.
Now, that's a very interesting point. I haven't heard that before, but I think yes, context to content is exactly what you're saying. How
Yeah.
contextual is your content to your own organization, and if you can internally bring a, build that entire content capability. And as we learn a lot from watching others, learning from people we are working closely with, and case studies work very well for us. So I think that's a very great thought. I think going forward, while you are building that
So
learning agility and working towards adoption, I think that's really going to work well.
so just an example on the digital change with a banking client I have worked earlier. When
Yeah.
they tried various things, what worked was when one of their top bankers started taking the whole program around, created, actually was actively involved in creating and curating a program around what does the digital future for bank, the omni channel banking, how it changes the game for the customer, and he started running that program. Suddenly the
Mm.
uptake went through the roof, because
Exactly.
that individual had such exceptional credibility within the bank. Everyone
Mm.
was interested to see that what that future vision is being built, and so on. And there is an immediate ROI, because what you have
Yeah.
done is you have suddenly got the whole organization ready on a content area which is core to transformation of the bank.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll see a lot of those experiments come through, and it not only adds to your point context, Yasmin, it also creates this urgency around that context.
Yes, yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think that's a great point. Thank you so much, Shashwat. Moving on to my next question for you, Shashwat. You have been using HR functions to accelerate organizational change and drive business success way before the pandemic changed the notion of work. You've worked largely in the, in with big organizations as well as small organizations, but you've really accelerated this change. What has been the impact of digital transformation in accelerating business outcomes in your experience? And how do you think will this define the future of business?
In fact, this is a great question, and I'm super passionate about it. So now businesses are reimagining newer opportunities, and are willing to do it at scale. Having worked with clients where as they actually reached a stage of maturity where some of these ways of working, new way of looking at operating models started happening, they were able to accelerate initiatives which were parked out for multiple years in months, because
Mm.
suddenly then you have this whole notion of we can empower people to do more, we can empower individuals and trust them to pick up an opportunity, run with that, come back to us only in case of exception beyond the defined boundaries, and so on. Just this change in thinking allowed these organizations to do so much more with existing capabilities and talent. It was an eye opener. So that's one aspect. To the talent, suddenly this was this whole phenomenal set of opportunities coming through. So there was no need to go out and look for next greater opportunity, next bigger opportunity, because you were getting this opportunity to execute in an environment where people knew you. Some of them obviously have trust with you, and there are backers who will support you, and hence you are more willing to go out, take risk, and even if need to be fail, and fail with the right intent. So I think organizations who start maturing beyond a tipping point or a threshold start
Mm.
seeing this gain. The challenge is organizations who are just before that tipping point, because for any transformation, when you have till the time you have hit that threshold, looks really challenging, looks like that the work has doubled up, and so on. So that's the phase where you need a lot of conviction and resilience to reach a stage where you have enough portion of the organization which believes in this change.
Mm.
There is a large core which is trained about new way of doing things, have basic tooling in place to make it happen. Then you see acceleration, and then it becomes really exciting. So that's really the experience and the learning. But we will see many more organizations crossing those tipping points and threshold. Some of them because they have been doing it with discipline for many years. Some of them because they have been forced to. But
Yeah.
as that mass increases in the market, we'll see wholesale changes.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. Also, Shashwat, the resourceful usage of automation, digitization, AI, machine learning, and designing human capital strategies and business goals has benefited organizations increasingly, especially in the past few years, if I may say. Analytics have helped escalate talent management, learning and development, team building, performance evaluation, recruitment, and various other HR practices. What are your predictions for the future of a digitally oriented HR, and how can that aid business? How can it aid business acceleration? In fact,
Yeah, so in fact, it's a good question, and maybe slightly. And Yasmin, you have discussed this. We have discussed this before. Is
yes,
that as we look at the future and as technology becomes central to HR, we are looking at a more high touch HR,
yeah,
because the more high tech you are, you need to be more high touch. And then
absolutely,
people look at it as two extremes. It's not, because what it allows HR today is, as we become more high tech, suddenly this whole notion of HR getting bogged down by transactions, daily fires, rework, and so on, manual entry of things and so on, goes away. The fear and the risk around compliance goes away. So when all of this pain goes away, it's not that HR will shrink dramatically. We'll see newer roles emerge in HR, because as you think of all this transformation happening, HR VPs will have to drive uh, organization performance,
yes,
org change. So they will have a new set of capability organization needed there. COE leaders will have to drive much more faster design changes in the programs at speed with feedback data. You will see newer roles emerge around organization planning, analytics, and so on. Because similar to financial planning and analytics, the whole way in which workforce modeling will be done, internal, external, new operating models of business. So you will see different kinds of consultative and support roles come. Field HR will become more of an HR which is owner of culture, trust, employment bond, and so on. And HR ops will continue to shrink. Not to say it will not add value. You will see HR ops becoming more focused on analytics, insights, and driving larger changes and so on. So HR will look very different, with focus on driving some of the outcomes we were discussing. So HR will have to obviously be driving talent, and it's also in a way very telling that outcomes have not changed. So
yes,
if you go back to the most mature HR transformations mid 2000, so we did a study as you would call next gen HR. It is
yes,
still came back to uh, talent outcomes, employment bond, which you can today call as employee experience and analytics. To 2011-12, same theme. Today also the same thing. The thing which has changed is technology and the tooling is ready for HR to deliver that.
yeah,
So for the first time, when operations actually as a pain goes away, then there is a real opportunity for different role in HR to play the roles they were designed for. So HR we truly sit with business leaders to understand their business strategic direction. What are the outcomes which are most important? A new country being set up, recruitment is really important. But a established business which is old world, you will need productivity. So think of a one sector as an example, oil and gas. Uh, all traditional energy businesses will need productivity, critical roles, because these are stable businesses. Renewable businesses will need a lot of hiring, scale up, recruitment will be important. Critical roles will be important both sides, because digital is important and so on. So talent outcomes will have slight changes, but you need to understand them to say, in my current organization context, what is important, why it's important, how I am faring there, and deliver that. Employee
yeah,
experience will be super important. And people look at employee experience purely because they say, oh, no, 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 it's important because millennials need it. Gen
no,
Z will need it. Everyone needs it. That's one.
everyone
But
needs it.
that's also not that story. It's just part of that story. Organizations need employee experience, because what
Yeah,
happens is, when I deliver on employee experience, adoption of program is very high. When the adoption of program is very high, the design intent of program is being delivered, which means compliance is taken care of. So you deliver experience and you deliver compliance in the same continuum. And what it
Yeah.
does is it takes the risk of compliance failures away. Because today, when you have a compliance failure, it's not an HR failure, it's a business failure, it's a brand failure. So employee experience, when you get it right and you end up driving adoption, you also take the pain of compliance risk out of equation.
Yeah.
So that's really the second focus. The third one, I will come back to your favorite topic, Yashmin, is people analytics. But portion of analytics which connects to talent outcomes. So there is no
Yeah.
one generic analytics across the business. Each of the business, wherever a strategy is being getting executed, and that level could differ by your different business areas. That's
True.
where you need to have variation in people analytics to say how my talent outcomes are connecting to the strategy and supporting it.
Yeah.
So to me that's really brings all this together. And I was sharing the point that it has been part of this whole core HR transformation agenda for long. But now, one, tooling is there to drive it. Second, now you have business leaders who are also demanding it clearly. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that has changed. That's the second change. And the third change which is happening is in a smart organizations, HR and business leaders are co-creating it,
Yes.
which means that business is getting involved very early in the process. They are jumping with both their feet in and are part of the design process. When that happens, adoption kind of gets taken care of, and you
Yeah.
accelerate the whole process. So those are some of the different changes happening. And as you think of providers like Darwin Box and others, we'll have to enable tooling to support this,
Yeah.
because you cannot build the tooling or the tool set with an HR first mindset. So why say organizations who are succeeding today as providers are succeeding? And I'm not talking only about Darwin Box because I'm there. You take other successes in the markets. Organizations which are focused on employee first, adoption anchored, are the organizations which are succeeding and scaling up their businesses.
Great. Some great thoughts there, Shashwat. I have a few follow-up questions coming up from what I've been hearing from you. One question, and I think your perspective is a little different for a lot of people. People saying the role of HR is changing. You said it's not changing. Is the outcomes remain the same for them? It's just that they're being, tuned to do it in a different way, right? Am I correct if I heard you right? The role is the same.
100%. So, Yasmin, look at it. People say that our way of measuring employee engagement has changed. But
Hmm.
if you go back and look at data for last 20 years, employees always said that, oh, I want learning and careers as top two items. It was never about comp. It was never about those things. It so happens that they have now lesser patience to wait,
Yeah.
and they have more opportunities in the market. But the
Yeah.
ask and the demand from employees have not changed across generations. so
Hmm.
so so that's where we get hyped by some of the current noise. But when you really look at data, some of the core aspects are same. How we deliver has changed. So that's where my example that a pit stop in Formula 1 used to
Yeah.
take minutes. If you go back 50 years, 60
I
years,
do.
today
Yeah.
happens in 2 3 seconds. But it's a pit stop.
Yes.
You have to change tires, you have to check the health of the car, you have to load up the fuel. It's still the same pit stop.
Yeah. Exactly. The outcome is the same after all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting thought, Shashwat. Another interesting question that's coming to my mind. So a lot of other leaders and experts are saying that HR has finally got a seat at the table. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it never had the seat? Do you think it has got the seat? It's a little controversial in my mind.
It's never one story. There were organizations where HR had the seat. So even if you go back and read the whole transformation of Elephants Can Dance, and this I'm going back to 90s,
Yeah.
uh, it was HR led, because there was this company moving away from selling and hosting servers to doing services and so on. So they had this maturity. And similarly, if you go back to look at world leading conglomerate in 1780s with very rigid performance model and all so on. So it looks like it's not HR led, but it was always HR led because you were trying to build a culture. And it was so happening that the HR was a lot of HR decisions were trained and sitting with the business leaders. So they were expected to fulfill that HR role. Similarly, if you come and today, if you come to today and say that HR is central, everyone is talking about it, great. But does it mean all HR leaders will be at the decision table and driving changes? Not all. The ones who have the right capabilities, right insights. HR leaders who don't act as HR leaders but act as business leaders. Because
Yeah.
come to think of it, you head the HR function, but your peer group is the business leadership. So you are a business leader of the firm. You are not an HR leader. So and the good news is many HR leaders already today think and behave like that.
Yeah.
And those are the HR leaders who don't even think of it as HR gaining a right to business leadership. They are already part of the business leadership. They are behaving as one. And Yasmin, if you come to think of from an opportunity perspective, if all of this change is around organization, people, and culture, then it's a huge opportunity for, I will say, the topic of HR to become even more and more central.
Yes.
At some stage, it's all this agility is not only about changing the larger organization. Come to think of it, how do you also make leaders collaborate at a speed and drive that change will become the biggest leadership topic and theme and so on. So HR as a topic and theme will gain more weightage and more importance, that's for sure. HR leaders, where they are right, they are already part of the business leadership and behave as one. COVID has made this opportunity bigger for rest, where because board was reaching out to HR leaders directly and so on. So a larger set of HR leaders have built now wider networks to
Yeah.
start making this change happen. So in many ways, this timing wise, this is the perfect time and the opportunity.
Yes.
But
Totally
people have
agree.
been doing it for years. It will be unfair to say folks have not been doing it for years.
Yeah, I know exactly. I think it's good to see that the recognition is coming through. It was coming through in some parts, but now it's become all the more, bigger for the HR people, folks to get that recognition. So great to see that. But thanks, Shashwat. Some great thoughts there. I totally agree with you on the point on HR needs to become high touch when it comes to becoming high tech because they go hand in hand. You have to listen. You have to be empathetic. You have to figure out what works for your people, and have that those connections intact because those are your people will lead you to the future. So thank you so much for sharing that. It's now time now for some rapid fire questions for you, Shashwat. So shall we begin?
Yeah, all okay.
All right, sure. So one word that defines the impact of digital transformation on HR for you.
Empowering.
Empowering, amazing, thank you. Three main areas businesses must focus their strategies on.
I will say outcomes, operating model, and org change.
Nice. The three O's: outcome, operating models, and out change. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
The final question now. So some maybe two or three top effective technologies and innovations that can help businesses in the future.
So, and that's let us go back to our own agenda: skills ontology or skills, I will say broadly, and the
Mhm.
analytics piece.
Skills and analytics. Absolutely agree with you. So thank you so much, Shashwat. That was all the time we had for this LinkedIn Live session. Great fun. So much to learn from you as always. So much of experience, so much of wisdom that you have to share with us. Learned so much. So thank you so much for giving us your time, Shashwat.
Yasmin, it was great talking to you, and thanks for having me over for this session. It's a great series. Look forward to listening to many more of other
Absolutely.
conversations. Thanks.
Absolutely. And look forward to bringing you back again with another interesting topic here.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. We will come back to you next year with another transformation story. And our first live session would be on January 4th with May Sunega, who's Head of Human Resources and Communications at Sun Life Asia State Service. So, see you all there. Wishing you all a very happy and positive new year. Thank you. Take care.